I am here to discuss the so-called flying saucers.
We know now that in the early years of the 20th century, this world was being watched closely by intelligences greater than man's.
Did the CIA write Wind of Change by the Scorpions?
As humans busied themselves about the various concerns, they were scrutinized and studied.
Dr. Loeb, what percentage chance do you give it that you have indeed uncovered extraterrestrial or non-human technology?
With infinite complacence, people went about their affairs, yet across an immense ethereal gulf, intellects vast and unsympathetic drew their plans against us.
All of a sudden, a stick out of nowhere landed right in front of us, and there was no tree, nothing overhead. Something threw it at us.
Yeah.
All things unexplained.
So some of that, I think, sir, we'll save for closed session.
Good evening. This is Dr. Mounts. Welcome back to All Things Unexplained. I'm doing a little last minute work here. We're going to attempt to live stream these new UFOs, UAPs that Skywatcher is set to reveal. Let me share my screen here. Skywatcher, of course, being the enigmatic organization first revealed to Ross Coulthard by Jake Barber on the infamous Ross Coulthard UFO egg retrieval that we live streamed. That was a big thing for us. We had over 10,000 people tune in live that night to the Ross Coulthard egg retrieval. That night, Jake Barber did reveal the Skywatcher group that he had set up. And they said that 7 p.m. tonight Eastern is supposed to be happening. While we're waiting, let's see who we've got here. UFO Busters, welcome back, friends. That UFO Show Australia, please give them a follow if you haven't already. They have a great YouTube channel. Ian Tate says Skywatcher. That's right. We're here tonight to take a peek together at the Skywatcher UFO UAP post. I'm on their Twitter, and it says, okay, Skywatcher Part 2 will launch at 7 p.m. Eastern tonight, featuring an initial taxonomy of 9 UAP classes, along with photos and videos from our ongoing data collection efforts. Note, Skywatcher's media is not validated science and has not yet undergone independent scientific review. Now, are they going to live stream it? Is it just going to be a post? I'm not sure. I'm going to have to refresh my screen here in just a minute to figure out. But I think this post did answer one question I had. I had been wondering, was this going to be, because they had talked about a dumbbell UFO with Ross Coulthard. Is this going to be UFO UAP that they filmed themselves, that they initiated the encounter with? Is it going to be data that they were collecting, or is it going to be some other kind of reveal? I think this says that this is their data. And I'm pretty sure one of these is supposed to be the dumbbell UFO. Shout out to Christian from UFO Twitter, who I believe said that he's also had a dumbbell encounter. Maybe he can tell that to us at some point. So I'm kind of just scrolling around on Skywatcher's Twitter right now. I don't think it would be on their website. I went to their website earlier, and there wasn't a whole lot there. Thanks for joining me tonight. This is Dr. Mouse with All Things Unexplained. If you'd like to support the show, you can head over to allthingsunexplained.com. But the best thing you can do to support the show is head over to our YouTube, subscribe. That's youtube.com/@allthingsunexplained. We're completely free, and we appreciate you. They go on to say the release of these materials is entirely separate from our upcoming verification process. Skywatcher remains at level 3, which is analysis and hypothesis testing in our discovery framework. I haven't really read over their discovery framework. It sounds a little bit like, to me, modeled after the scientific method. Maybe this makes it sound like they're already past the data collection level, which is interesting. You would think the data collection would just be ongoing, but maybe they're doing this in some sort of tiers. So maybe this is tier 1, where they're collecting an initial phase or round of data, and now they're on to analysis and hypothesis testing. I suppose the hypothesis testing here is what methods they can use to initiate contact with UFO, UAP, perhaps maybe to what scientific methods like camera equipment and that sort of thing, time of day, location is best for being in the right location to film UFO, UAP. That you would think that would be a part of it. It does say additional independent scientific validation will follow in the near future. Our intention with this video, okay, so apparently they're going to release a video, is to help the community understand the experiences our team is having in the field, not to present finalized scientific conclusions. Okay, then. So maybe it's supposed to be a video. I do see here pinned Skywatcher Part 1. The journey begins. Well, let me refresh my tab and see what happens here. It still says 7 p.m. Eastern tonight. There's the Skywatcher Discovery Framework on their Twitter. Skywatcher Part 2 update. We want to share an update and address some of the questions we've seen online. We believe that Skywatcher has made real progress in understanding. Okay, and they're still hiring a lot of people, full-time producer to help lead our content production. This person will play a pivotal role in helping share our research and findings with the world. Serious candidates only. I've heard rumors of some people that have put in for jobs with Skywatcher. We will be reviewing applications this weekend. That was March 19th. I tell you what, hope they have better luck than I did. We were trying to hire an advertising executive, and we were mostly using LinkedIn. Boy, that did not work as good as I thought it would. So let me refresh again here. Again, shout out to our friends UFO Busters, that UFO show in Australia. Shout out to Ian Tate. Shout out to Trevor Iron Wolf. Yes, haven't seen you in a while, friend. They've posted it on their YouTube channel now. Well, all right. Let's head over there. Skywatcher YouTube. Thanks for letting me know about that, Trevor. I may have to restart my browser here. So just bear with me. Apparently, it is on their YouTube, so I'm going to need to pull up a new window here. Skywatcher YouTube. And of course, I know it's been a little glitchy. Yep, I'm getting some. Do you think that many people are interested in it? It might be, because like I said, it blew up that night with the egg UFO and Ross Coulthard. Yeah, all of a sudden, I cannot even get Chrome to open up a new window here for me. Okay, here we go. I've got something loading now. So we could be getting close here. Skywatcher, here we go. Part 1. Don't want that. Skywatcher Part 2. 10 minutes ago. Sure enough. Well, all right. Let's pull this up and see what we've got. I may as well start from the beginning. Your browser lost connection to your screen share audio. Try sharing your screen again. Restart your browser if this continues to be a problem. So hopefully someone can let me know if the audio is working on this. Let me pull it up on screen. Seems like it should be functioning. Let's see. Skywatcher Part 2, Mapping the Unknown.
You heard a lot of very believable people making truly unbelievable claims. Skywatcher's objective is to use the scientific method to validate or invalidate
Trevor,
these
can you hear the
claims
video?
and hopefully usher in a new understanding of reality. For Skywatcher Part 2, our focus is on data. In this episode, you will meet James Fowler. James runs the technology team here at Skywatcher, and over the past few years, he has put together what I consider to be, by far, the highest quality private repository of UAP data in the world. For the first time, James has agreed to be interviewed on camera, and we will be releasing the data that he's collected over the past many years. So we're out here in the desert, running our second Skywatcher event of the year. As you've heard about, we're focused on 2 different types.
I'm going to pause it real quick. So if you're in the chat, let me know with a thumbs up or some signal if you can hear the audio from the Skywatcher Part 2 video. Thanks.
Of UAP calling. We have machine calling and we have psionic calling. We've had success with both of these different types. But over the past few days, on the machine calling side, we've witnessed a lot of spectacular things. Every time we have an event, we have things happen that I truly cannot explain. We and the rest of our team are doing our very best to collect a robust set of data to share with all of you. But I hope you can understand that it's not as easy as it sounds. We're talking about objects that seemingly are able to appear and disappear in real time. We're talking about objects that seem to evade our sensors. They seem to actually turn our sensors off at times. And I can say firsthand that crazy shit keeps happening. I consider myself to be a very logical, rational person. This rabbit hole, the rabbit hole of UAPs and consciousness, has been hands down the craziest experience of my life.
So today we had a class 7 come in about 3,000 feet, 135-degree heading. It's pretty low to the ground. We saw it visually, their eyes. We had it on radar as well.
We've been collecting UAP data for more than 5 years with electromechanical signaling, which we call our dog whistle. Generally speaking, we see 3 to 5 different classes of UAP per day during operations. After we turn on the dog whistle, UAPs literally come to us day after day. To make sense of our data, we had to define a lexicon, and we based it on flight characteristics. We've broken the UAPs down into 9 classes or types. Some of these classes may be the same UAP under different flight configurations, but at this point, given their behavior, we're confident they don't align with conventional or terrestrial explanations. Each UAP class has different characteristics. Some shimmer, some tumble, some spin. Some look like they're alive and they just fly like a living object in the sky. UAPs are extremely hard to image. What is seen with the naked eye is generally not what is seen under camera. The class 1 often spins, tumbles through the sky. Craft looks like a black body. It appears to flash, pulse multiple times per second. There appears to be some kind of cloud or vapor around it. We've seen class 1s in formations up to 22, 23, flying in different flight formations, different flock formations. The class 2 is the classic tic-tac. We've seen it in groups of 2 to 3, often flying very erratically. We've seen these a couple years in a row, and usually we see them in groups. The class 3, the blob, a pulsing, vibrating cloud. There's something, maybe perhaps a cylinder kind of in the middle that has a different light like a flame, and then it vibrates and pulses as it moves through space. The class 4 is your orb. We've only seen it in infrared. But the class 4 seems to only come during certain activities in conjunction with perhaps the class 1. We don't have enough data yet to confirm. The class 5 we call the manta ray. It seems to tumble and rotate as it moves through the sky. Class 6 is bright star. That one vibrates very, very fast. It literally looks like a crystal in the sky. The class 7 is the jellyfish. It's probably about 2 meters across. The head is purple and black in color, and then it has tentacles. The class 8 we call the hornet. It looks very similar to the class 7, the jellyfish, except for it's bigger, and it's almost like a jellyfish carrying something. And then the class 9 is the egg. The class 9 isn't something we have a lot of data on. It's very limited. We have it as Skywatcher during our California event. It's an emerging class. And we have strong evidence that it probably exists, but we don't have data to concisely describe it.
We have our sensor team up on the hill, actively collecting data. We have our psionic team actively operating both day and night, and we have 2 helicopters on standby, ready to be deployed.
Yeah, so the nice thing about having helicopters available out here as opposed to drones or airplanes is essentially helicopters can hover for hours at a time, and we can put people on board. You know, our drones are limited in altitude and also in just time on station because of their battery life. We like using the helicopters. We can put multiple people in the helicopter with a number of observation equipment, cameras, etc. So it's a really useful platform for us.
Oh, the sun is to the east right now. We got that little bit of shading right there on the lower left of the target.
Yep.
Which, if that's actual shading, that means the sun's coming from this angle.
Mm-hmm.
So the usual question I get is, where's the evidence? Where's the data? In science, just having data doesn't mean anything. So the reason there is a scientific process is because it works and it's replicable. And it's a standard upon which all science is accomplished. So by doing and using those kinds of approaches here at Skywatcher, we're going to be able to collect the data, get it peer reviewed, not because the peer review tells you that the conclusion is right, but because that allows others to look at what it is that you did and determine whether or not you did it right. So that hasn't been done anywhere yet. It's been done in bits and pieces here or there, but this is now a comprehensive framework for accomplishing the goal.
My name is Mark von Riddenkamp, and I have been covering the UFO or UAP topic for The Hill on the opinion side for about 4 years now. I'm excited to have a discussion today with James Fowler, who leads the technology side of Skywatcher and has collected some very, very interesting data that we are going to be taking a closer look at today. James, thank you so much for joining me.
Happy to be here. So we stumbled into this pretty much face planted right into this topic. We didn't want this topic to come into our lives. I'm not a ufologist. I don't believe. I'm not Fox Mulder. I have no faith in UFO, UAP stuff. I have no belief in off-planet anything. Frankly, we follow the data, and the data we have indicates that there's probably 3 buckets.
There's probably a blue bucket, American made. There's probably a red bucket made in China. And there's probably another bucket, which I don't know where that bucket comes from. This isn't a spiritual activity for us. This isn't emotional. This is strictly facts and data driven. And we've tried very hard to keep it that way.
So how did you end up out here in undisclosed location in the desert, looking up at the sky and looking for UAP?
Well, after my career, I started several companies and started running different projects for the government as a subcontractor. And through those activities, we started noting anomalies. And one thing led to another. Now we have what we believe is compelling data on UAPs.
Is there anything else that at a high level that really stood out to you that you have observed, you and your team have observed out in the field?
Yeah, sure. So the class 3 is very spectacular. We've seen the class 3 as soon as yesterday. We didn't see any today, just class 7s. But the class 3 looks like a blob. Looks like a Pepto-Bismol colored blob in the sky. I don't even know how else to say it. It pulses and vibrates, and I don't know what that means. I don't know why we're seeing that, but it's definitely in the sky, and we believe we're able to dog whistle the UAPs to our location. And when we do, we get different observations, and the class 3 is quite spectacular.
So, James, could you explain just a little, go into maybe a little bit more depth on this dog whistle, this apparent capability or technological element that potentially appears to attract UAP?
We have turned on our equipment that we've customized and created what we believe is a dog whistle, and UAPs show up. So through that process, we started a systematic cause and effect, if you will, experimentation. And we've arrived at some very custom capabilities that when we deploy these capabilities, we get different UAP responses. Every time we turn on this equipment and do the things we need to do for the right amount of time, we get a response every time. And we've also experimented with not using the equipment and seeing if we see things, and we have not, which is interesting because all of our data has been daytime. We have no data from night. None of our data are lights in the sky that you have to squint your eyes and put your finger on your nose and hope you see what you want to see. No, our data is broad daylight, often well lit like this, maybe in a desert, data that's very very viewable. We've had over 300 sorties now of UAP incursions into our airspace where we're working.
Can I quickly interrupt a sortie just for the benefit of the audience? That's an individual flight over that you tracked with your sensors. Is that accurate?
Yeah, so I call a sortie when we have an observation of a class of UAP moving through our airspace. That class might be in a flock. We've seen flocks of up to 20 plus. And we also have singletons that move through. Like today, we had 2 class 7s move through. So each one by itself would be a sortie. So we've seen hundreds of UAPs. Perhaps we're running an event and we have 200 sorties in a day. We don't know if that's one aircraft seeing 109 times more, or if that's 200 separate airframes or aircraft or UAPs or whatever they are moving through our airspace separately. So we just call it a sortie and accept what we don't know, and accept that, hey, as an observation from a technology perspective and science perspective, this is one set of data.
So I'd like to maybe turn now to and acknowledge the skeptics out there. It's good to be skeptical. You want to be skeptical. And we learned quite a bit from the New Jersey incidents that a lot of what people were seeing were just normal planes in the sky, right? If you turn on the news, almost all the footage was commercial airliners. We know that, right? Anybody who's seen a commercial or knows what they're looking at can say that. When you're doing your analyses or you're tracking an object live, are you accounting for wind? Are you accounting for, let's start with wind.
So yes, we do look at the wind. We don't look that hard at it. A lot of these objects are moving faster than the wind. A lot of them will do maneuvers such as the tic-tacs. We see them come straight down as if from space, tumbling and spinning, at Mach 2+. It's important to note that all of the classes, every single one of them, we have characteristics that are unexplainable with current human technology and our current understanding of nature. So it just so happens that to track hypersonics, to track stealth, to track drones in non-ideal conditions or aircraft in non-ideal conditions is the same technology you need to track UAPs. By building the system net new and calling it Skywatcher, that's what we've done. We've architected, designed, and are building and soon integrating this next generation technology. So we're actively working with and seeking more third-party, non-ufologists, physicists, scientists, academia. We want them to come and analyze our data and produce third-party independent analysis.
And to be clear, James, these individuals would be privy to the sensitive data that you're discussing.
They would get full access to our data. It would just be in a controlled environment where they don't take all the data with them. They just produce the report and anything redacted for release.
That is an insightful and I think a very important element to highlight here. And I'd like to turn this into a public service announcement that anybody watching who may be an expert, an academic, who has an interest in this topic now after watching this, to reach out to Skywatcher and to, if you have the bandwidth and ability, to lend your services. I know the team would very much appreciate that and respect that. And I think an objective third-party analysis would really move the discussion forward.
An operation like this, I think, is a pretty unique operation. It's giving us the opportunity, one, to collect data on this phenomenon, the reality of this phenomenon. It's also giving us the opportunity to test out some theories as well. I would say the most significant encounter that I've had here was probably interacting with the jellyfish.
Every day, we've identified some form of jellyfish UAP that seems to be attracted to our machine calling system. Every day, the jellyfish has gotten pretty close to the radar, and yesterday, it was so close that the team there could actually see it with their naked eye.
It looked like a cylinder, but when we got under some power with magnification, it looked more like a class 7 or jellyfish. Tip of it being super, super bright and reflective, and whatever was hanging off the bottom of it was, not really easy to see, but you can see that there was something floating beneath it. 135 heading, class 7, northeast.
It's a game of chess, right? That they're actually probing us to validate our capabilities. If this is an advanced species and is smart enough to do what it's doing, they have the upper hand, and we are the little ants under the magnifying glass.
We had a class 7 UAP. We went ahead and launched the helo to pursue it. Before the helo got here, it actually came and hovered right over us. For the first time, we saw a class 7 with the naked eye. It was very glinty, looked metallic. Through our optics, we've always thought it was purple or black. Frankly, the reflections look like chrome almost color.
Looking to the east, Check heading around 68 degrees.
It's probably 4,000 feet above us, about maybe 1 kilometer out, horizontal distance above the ground. And it looked like 8 meters total in distance from top to bottom. The top will look like a mushroom, like a big jellyfish. It was very, very, very bright white and vibrating and flashing, like pulsing. There was like 3 flashing panels, like equal distance going down it. I've seen some the last couple of days through a sensor. So I'd seen them before, so it wasn't like awe-shocking, but it was, kind of taken back to be like, oh, wow, really am seeing one, with my actual visual eyes, right here, right above me at 4,000 feet. It looked like a jumper under canopy at 4,000 feet, which is the same distance when they pull. So that part is crazy. Then I knew, like, I'm not seeing stuff. There it is. It's the same thing that I've been seeing on sensor. And all the characteristics, were consistent with what a class 7 should look like.
The class 7 is a jellyfish. It's not the jellyfish you've seen on TV. It's a different jellyfish. We think the head of the jellyfish is about 2 meters in size. We think the tentacles hanging down are about 3 to 5 meters in size, varying and depending on which one you're looking at. You can see these stills are taken from different jellyfish. You can see this jellyfish, the tentacles look very, very long. On this one, they look shorter compared to the head. As you can see, the nodules on the tentacles light up. And again, this light appears to us to go from head to tail and pulse and light up the nodules as it goes. Also, sometimes it looks like an automaton or something with like an alien movie where it's got like the tail kind of hanging out, like it's seeking something. And sometimes it looks like it's a jellyfish in the sky. It seems to undulate as it moves. We have seen these take direct flight paths. Even yesterday, For the first time, we had two in formation. We've never seen that before. We chased down one of those two, and it deviated its flight path as we approximated, and then it elevated directly straight up, as in directly vertical. So the Class 7 is very hard to image, and at distance, it looks very similar to the Class 6 and also the Class 8 at distance. So what you're going to see is it's kind of, I'll call it swimming in through the sky. There aren't a lot of exotic colors. There is reflectivity, but that color you see right there is very akin to the Class 6 when it's not emitting high energy or whatever it's doing. So when it's not vibrating. So we don't know what that means. And you can kind of start to see now the tentacles hanging down as it moves. In IR, they're very obvious. They're less obvious in EO. So we have multiple indications that this is a real object, that is not man-made, and that it is flying through our airspace and does want to avoid us.
At the end of day 2, our psionic team made a bold prediction that the next day we would see an interaction between two different types of UAPs in the sky.
The Class 7s, we believe, are aggressive. They appear to want to encroach on us and get over us. The Class 5 we saw yesterday seemed to put itself between us and the Class 7, and the Class 7 then egressed to the north and the east. Let's do like an 11:10 startup. How long can you idle on the ground?
Yeah.
Like 20 minutes? Yeah. Done.
On day 3, around noon, our radar started to detect a Class 2 Tic Tac.
We had our size who had just finished doing their thing, and one of them had brought up the fact that something was going to come from a very specific direction. He had a really good feeling about a specific location.
There have been multiple instances of the psionic team predicting when the machine calling and the radar team will actually sense an object.
The Class 2 is the classic Tic Tac. We have had laser rangefinder returns on them to give us distance. And through that method and the optical zoom, we are able to measure. We think they're about 40 feet in length, and they appear to be traveling supersonic and hypersonic. A very interesting thing, which you'll see in the videos, is when we do see them, they're at the edge of our sensor capabilities. You'll see like there's striations around these stills, and sometimes it almost looks like it bends, almost like it's not a solid mass. So when it's spinning, when it comes out of the spin, for a second, it looks like part of it, like probably about a third of it, is bendable and it bends.
And at this point, is it dropping rapidly?
Yes, the only thing that's changing is the angle that we're looking at it with.
The elevation angle, is that right?
Yes, and we're moving in a downward fashion. The system operator is having a very hard time keeping in frame because it's falling so fast.
Dropping fast.
So you can't zoom in, and our servos don't move that fast, so our equipment can't handle that zoom factor with the speed. You'll see multiple UAPs in these, and as in they're flying together. I don't know that they're in a formation. You know, if you go frame by frame, you can see their cylinders.
Wow.
So that's the Class 2.
Fascinating.
We sent the helo out to intercept the Tic Tac, but the first attempt failed because our radar was being jammed by the Class 7 jellyfish.
Where were we in the sky the first time you saw that? That was when we were 7 kilometers or so out to the northwest, 340 at that spot that we went to.
And we kept trying to climb, and it wouldn't let us.
Our helicopter launched, and about a half mile out, the helicopter stopped moving. Engines running, blades are turning, but it would not go forward, it would not go up, it would not go left or right. It was stuck there.
So we're kind of imagine like a blanket above us. It's like pressing us down.
So maybe we were in proximity to it, and it was saying, don't come any higher.
Yeah,
because that was when I told you guys elevate, right? That's fascinating.
We were called out to intercept an object that was found on radar. We went to the location it was supposed to be at. We circled a couple of times, and were requested to climb another 1,000 feet. The instrumentation started to bounce, and the collective basically was frozen. I've never experienced anything like that before. got over 4,000 hours of flight time, and this has never happened before.
So we don't know how they're jamming us. We don't know how they're turning our equipment off yet. Best guess would be a microwave signal. We're not seeing it on the frequencies we're using for our collection equipment.
Yeah, this is north, but it's not giving a reading at all. It's off.
Either it's moving supersonic out of here with noiselessly, or it's flipping a switch and now you see me, now you don't. And I kind of feel like it's the second one. So it's really looking interesting that we're seeing multiple classes, 3 classes today, 2, 5, and 7. Saw them all with binoculars and or the naked eye, which is really new for us. We've not had that experience in the last 5 years. And the fact that the class 2 and class 5 seem to be putting themselves between us and the jellyfish. We don't know what that means. We don't have enough data yet to say that conclusively. And I'm not quite sure how many times we have to see something like that till we understand that that's probably the case. Also interesting that the class 5 and class 2 took 3 or 4 days to show up. The class 5 we call the manta ray. It looks to be like is written a manta ray. It has round everywhere. I don't think there's anything straight or nearly straight. We actually went frame by frame on this because it was tumbling slowly and derived a 3D model of what we think it looks like. Here you can see it tumbling and spinning on multiple axes as it comes through the frame.
And you said this is going perpendicular to the wind and faster than the wind.
Yes, it was on radar. It was on imagery, multiple bands. And the interesting thing is the radar shows this vibrating as well, the same heartbeat signal, which is really a boost in our analysis because only UAPs appear to have the vertical and horizontal heartbeat. Manned aircraft, balloons, birds, drones, they don't. They have a flat line trajectory and also a flat line radar signature. So that's the class 5.
Excellent.
After every event, it seems as though we leave with more questions than we do answers. Our mission in our investigation is truly just getting started. We're quickly learning, in fact, how many things that we still don't know.
Skywatcher will release full modules for each of the 9 UAP classes on YouTube and our website in the coming weeks. Please understand that this is a live operation unfolding in real time. We are doing our best to create a taxonomy of these objects based on the data we've collected, but we need your help.
Part 3 of Skywatcher is going to be about psionics. It's going to be about the team that we've assembled. You're going to hear from some of them directly. You'll hear about their experience, their background, and how they found themselves here alongside us today. And if we can validate the existence of these abilities completely and scientifically, then that information necessitates an entirely new concept of reality and our place in it as human beings.
Okay. Wow. Trevor Ironwolf says xenotaxonomy. Wild. Yes, for sure. Xenotaxonomy. I'm going to have to look that up. Xenotaxonomy. The science, sure enough, here it is on World Building Stack Exchange. Zero taxonomy is the science of categorizing extraterrestrial life. Wow. Did they say that at the end? Zero taxonomy? Is that what they're talking about with part 3? Or did they call these UAP? Did they describe them in the terms of xenotaxonomy? Because if they did, then are they suggesting the UAP themselves are extraterrestrial life? Okay. Trevor says they just said taxonomy. Still, though, I kind of get the sense that we are dealing with xenotaxonomy because of all these biological analogies, jellyfish, manta rays. Tic Tac, I guess, falls outside of that. UFO Buster says taxidermy. I made a few notes here. I'd kind of like to scroll back through, to be honest, and pick up especially some of these notes. And they went through some of these real quick. Let's see. And maybe we can get a better look at some of these images here. Like there's one. I'm not sure what that's supposed to be.
Last set of data
I'm going to kind of
to
fast
share
forward
with all
through
of you.
some of this
But I hope
here.
you can understand that it's not as easy as it sounds. We're talking about objects that seemingly are
Right
able
there.
to
Wow,
appear.
look at that. That, I think, was one of their jellyfish examples. Trevor Ironwolf says alien doesn't have to mean extraterrestrial. You're 1,000% correct on that. Ray G, I'm impressed. It was a very impressive video. I will say that. Super well made. Clearly looking to hire somebody to produce these video content for their research. They put some money into it. I mean, that's what I said in the chat, is that I could tell that there's some major money going behind this. But look at that. Now, I was a little disappointed because they did, and I took a note that at one point they did say, well, the Tic Tac video was impressive, I thought, because they did say the Tic Tacs appeared to be going supersonic or hypersonic speeds. And they showed some videos where it does indeed look to be going very fast. But one thing that caught my attention was they said the jellyfish UFOs, at some point they would elevate very fast. Well, I find it upsetting that we cannot get the videos that show this change in acceleration and change in direction. I want to see change in velocity. I want to see change in direction. Change in speed, change in direction. Those are instantly mind-blowing, earth-changing videos if they exist. But very cool image here on the screen. I think that was a jellyfish. This was Skywatcher Part 2. Oh, here we go. So this is one thing I couldn't pick up on super fast. They went through this quick, and I was like, somebody in the chat said I need my spectacles on here. But we got 9 classes here. They revealed Class 1 Tetra. So it's a geometry shape, sort of like a triangle. Class 2 Tic Tac. Class 3 Blob. I thought the blob was interesting because I wondered how many orbs that we hear described by people these days are the blobs. Class 4, the beam. And then we get into the biological categories. Class 5, the manta ray. Another thing that caught my attention with the manta ray is they described it as aggressive, as not man-made, and wants to avoid us. Those are some pretty mind-blowing statements. Let's see what the folks in the chat are saying. UFO Buster says organic metals, flying things. That kind of sounds like exactly like what they're saying. Starship says kind of look like balloons. Well, they've been blaming this on balloons since 47 at least, but I admit some of these could definitely be balloons until they show us proof of exceptional speed or change in directions or velocity. Then yeah, it's not anomalous. None of this is anomalous without the data. But they certainly used anomalous language. Again, for the jellyfish, I'm pretty sure that, the jellyfish is class 8. Yes. No. Class 7 is the jellyfish. I'm still trying to, in my notes, I put class 8, but class 8 appears to be hornet. Class 7 is the jellyfish. They describe the jellyfish as not man-made, and wants to avoid us. Well, that means it's a non-human intelligence. Either it is itself, the craft is a non-human intelligence, or it is being controlled by a non-human intelligence. Obviously, if it's not man-made, that eliminates balloons, unless it's a balloon that's made by an NHI. I guess that's possible. We cannot exclude that from the spectrum of probabilities. Okay, class 2 is Tic Tac, class 3 Blob, class 4 Beam, class 5 Man Ray, class 6 Bright Star. I have to admit, personally, I was intrigued by Bright Star. I hope that they release, I can't wait till they release these, what they call them, portfolios of each of these classes, because the Bright Star caught my attention because my son and I, we immediately revealed some anomalous video of something we took one night in our neighborhood. And we've had that sent off to some people I really respect, but have yet to get any answers, by the way. We've sent it off to people on both sides of the aisle too, astrophysicists who are into UFOs, and then debunkers who are constantly debunking UFOs, people you've heard of. And nobody's been able to tell us exactly what my son and I saw. And as we reviewed the footage, it was more than one of them. But the interesting thing about them, the one object that we saw, at first I thought it was a star over our house. It was a clear night. There were lots of stars out. I thought this was a star above the house. But then the next thing I know, my senses told me it was moving. And sure enough, it was moving. The star was moving. It was obviously at a very high altitude. And it was not moving fast. Now, I do understand at this point it could have been a satellite. Sure, lots of satellites kind of look like stars at a very high altitude. Okay. We ran out into the street that night to keep up with it, to find it again, because it disappeared over the top of the house. Took us a minute to find it, but we could find it easier with our phone, interestingly, than our naked eye. And once we found it again, at some point it sped up dramatically. And then it completely changed directions. It went from going north to south and then dramatically changed direction back to the north and to the east. All the while, it was continuing to speed up and slow down. At the very end, it began to what somebody has called fishtail, kind of like zigzagged in the sky. And to my naked eye, it disappeared. As we reviewed our footage, at the very end, when it was fishtailing, another star appeared. It looks like a star on the video, and it joins in the sort of fishtailing process. And one of them disappears, and the other one sort of remains fixed as a star, or so it appears. In real life, we didn't notice that. We thought we were only looking at stars. We didn't realize that we might have still been looking at some of the same things. So those are the type of videos I want to see. The Bright Star really caught my attention, class 6, because my son and I were watching bright stars doing anomalous things in the sky that night. Class 7 is jellyfish. Jellyfish. I can't wait to pull up how big they said these jellyfish were, because some of the people in the chat, they were like me. That blew them away when they... Now, I really want to see the data, but at least they did give some conclusions from the data in terms of, apparently they did calculate size on some of these things, and that's always been a question. Class 8 was Hornet. Another interesting biology reference, Hornet, but that could also be like a airplane reference. And class 9, the infamous egg. The infamous egg. Let's see what's happening in the chat real quick. Starship says, it's the tumbling. Maybe the military is messing with them. UFO Buster says, I've seen that video, friend. It was a cool catch. Thank you. Thank you so much. I should repost it tonight because now I know a better idea of what to call it. And I can call it the Bright Star or the Bright Stars. Starship says, I saw something that looked like a shooting star, but it traveled the entire sky and never burned out or exploded. Starship, in your mind, in your memory, did it travel along the same path the entire time, as you recall? All right, let's see if I can keep going here. Here's another interesting object that they've kind of locked in on. There's a green box, like a fighter pilot's radar tracking system, you know, how we think of it, or like the old Star Trek films where they locked onto their target and then fired the blasters. Starship in the chat said, yes, it did fall on the same path, I think, caught the end on video. Very interesting. I don't know what this blob squatch of a UFO is here. I'm looking at. Okay, this I thought was very interesting. Let's see if I can get the still frame to pop up. Here we go. That. What class was that? I think that was the blob class. It's kind of purple, shimmering. I'm telling you, we had a guest on one night. Shout out to him. He was kind enough to share his footage that he took over a nuclear power plant not far from here. But he also shared with us a lot of other photos and videos he took. This is one of them. This was taken over the South Carolina, North Carolina kind of border area, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong. You may be in the watchers, the viewers tonight. So this is an example of a manta ray, I believe, that we're seeing on the screen. Then we had examples of the Hornet Class 8. You know, some people may scoff at them releasing these shapes, but I want to remind everybody that Aero and the Defense Department, DOD, the Pentagon, they have kept, for whatever reason, the shapes of these things completely classified. Every time they release a report, shapes are redacted. And it always makes you wonder why. Are we getting a peek at the redacted shapes here? You know, maybe the Pentagon calls them different names. That's going to be real interesting to find out one day, is if the redacted shapes are called the same thing as these redacted shapes. One, it will be interesting to see if they are the same in general, like the same shape, maybe just using different words. That will be interesting too. It's going to get a little awkward if Skywatcher has used the same exact names of the shapes as what the Pentagon and Aero and others have used in their redacted files. Let's see if I can get then we had the Egg Class 9. Then we had Dr. Gary Nolan join the film, and I thought he kind of entered in like a Luke Skywalker kind of way in this last trilogy. Starship said, I didn't see an orb class. Maybe I missed it. I don't think they called it orb. I think they called it blob. But I think, honestly, a lot of these could... Oh, and then another one was called... What was it? I'll come back to Dr. Nolan. Let me go back to the classes. They're so easy to lose track of. Yeah, I just need to write them down.
Classes may be the same UAP under different flight configurations.
Here we go. Here's the classes. Class 1, Tetra. So this is kind of the pyramid shape. 2, tic-tac, we all know that. 3, blob. I think blob is probably what's responsible for a lot of the orb sightings. 4, beam, but then again, also beam. I wonder if beam is responsible for some orb sightings. Perhaps the orbs sometimes are in between blob and beam. They said that there was some potential crossover. 5, manta ray. But this is also sort of a triangular shape. So that's what I wonder, maybe the Pentagon might use words like triangle or pyramid. Skywatcher has said things like manta ray. And then we had the bright star class. Now that I see it, what's interesting about that is kind of like a combination of the blob with a pyramid inside of it, or the tetra class inside of it. So it's like the blob combined with the tetra. And that gives you the bright star class. Again, I'm interested to see these portfolios they release, because that night, what I see on the screen here with these diagrams, that's not what my son and I saw. My son and I literally believed we were looking at a star, a bright star. Except it was moving, then it changed directions and it changed speeds. The very popular Class 7 jellyfish. And I can't wait to get to what they said about that. Then the Class 8, the hornet. And the Class 9, the egg. Okay. And Trevor Ironwolf says, I think orbs are included in blobs. I think you're right, but would it surprise you to learn if, there was some crossover? Maybe an orb, depending on what distance away it is from you, could be the bright star or it could be the beam. I suspect some of that is happening. Surely distance has something to do with their categorization. Starship says, didn't they have orbs in the first video? I think you're right about that. UFO Busters, may the force be with us. I know that's right. Like Bledsoe orbs. Yeah, UFO Busters, that's a great question. Where's Rubik the Cube? They have talked about a cube inside a sphere, and looking at it now, that could be the blob or the bright star. Just taking a guess here. Trevor, did my comment get muted with the ink? Maybe you mean link. I pasted about the star UFO. It's a short video taken in Finland 2022. Did it have a link? Trevor, I didn't change anything. Why don't you repost it if you don't mind? Oh, wait. No. I saw the xenotaxonomy. Starship says they had a saucer in the first one. Now, I need to pull that back up. Trevor, if you'll repost any link you try to put up, I'll make sure I'll put it up on the screen and mention it. Okay. All right, let's go back up to Dr. Nolan. Dr. Nolan jumped in here. Again, a very Skywalker-like entrance, I feel like. And then they brought in this guy from The Hill. The Hill was actually in the news recently in a very unusual way. Who was this guy? I don't think this was the same reporter. But John Greenwald, yeah, Merrick von Rennenkampf. That's not the same guy. I'm going to have to do some research on this guy, The Hill. Merrick von Rennenkampf. And I tell you why, because John Greenwald posted something recently. He got some new documents from FOIA. And the FOIA documents were discussing the Hill from 2021 and names and why DOD or the Pentagon was upset with the Hill. It's all redacted, right? So they seem to have been upset with somebody at the Hill for something. And I looked through some articles, and there was an opinion piece in the Hill speculating about first contact. And they wondered, if NHI aliens do make first contact with us, they thought it's unlikely that they would make it with a political leader, that it's much more likely they would make it with a scientific leader. And this was in 2021, the article came out, and they speculated that person would probably be Elon right now, Elon Musk. And they said, hey, we hope Elon is ready to represent the entire human race. That was in 2021. Now I wonder, well, hey, were they a little uncomfortably close to the truth there? That's what I wondered. I mean, after all they did there was the document and had something to do with the Hill. But here we go. The Hill is a part of the Skywatcher video here. Very interesting. Oh, thank you. Starship says he said all the New Jersey drones were planes. The Hill guy. This is the same guy, Starship. If it is, that means they took a Scully approach here. Like this Merrick von Rennenkampf is their Scully, their skeptic. I mean, smart to not surround themselves in an echo chamber, if that is true. And apparently he was interviewing James Fowler, a partner at Skywatch. I think James was in part 1 too, and pretty sure James was on the Ross Coulthart special with Jake Barber. I'm going to kind of fast forward through the James Fowler interview. And then they did the fancy helicopter maneuvers. I thought I heard speculation that was Jake Barber demonstrating his skills there in the helicopter. UFO Busters in the chat says that star UFO object you've seen, friend, was seen all around the world around the same time. Wow, thank you for telling me that. Lots of people recorded it too on their cell phones too. I also recorded the same from Sydney. Wow, we need to exchange some notes sometime. Trevor says, I think the live stream is dropping links, probably for safety. Copyright is the first result if searching Lapland Orb 22. Lapland Orb 2022. Yeah, because I'm not seeing, Trevor, any links that you're putting up. What you may want to do, and I would appreciate if you would do this, is after the show, because this is the live chat. When we go offline, it'll be pretty soon here. If you could post your links in the regular comment section. There's 2 sections. There's a live chat comment section and a regular comment section. Hopefully it'll show up in the regular comment section. If it does, I'll pin it or I'll emphasize it in some sort of way. They get into day 2 here. I'm not sure what that little symbol is there. I was wondering about that. I couldn't see it very good, but now I'm looking at it more clearly. The symbol underneath day 2. I mean, I guess it's a UAP of some sort. And here's another image. I'm having a hard time freeze framing it. I think that was another jellyfish, aka the class 7. You can see something suspending below it. Unfortunately, it also kind of looks like a balloon, right now. It is kind of blob squatchy. Although I did make a note, I was very interested that they did use the helicopters to go in pursuit. Starship says you can't put links in chat. Thank you for that. What you can do is probably spell it out, though, Trevor. So if you just spell out the link and spell out the word DOT and then space COM, that might work. Sometimes the algorithm picks up on that little trick too. Oh, look at this. Here's 3 different images of the jellyfish UFO or the Mylar balloons, whichever way. However you look at it, I guess. But again, this is where the data is really crucial. I want to see a UFO chasing one of these, a helicopter chasing one of these UFOs. Because I got to feel like if it's a Mylar balloon, the helicopter's going to catch up to it. Also, I understand some sort of updraft in the atmosphere might cause a change in elevation for a balloon, especially a decrease in elevation. But they mentioned that these jellyfish, that they dramatically elevated at some points. And that they were not man-made, that they wanted to avoid us. Well, balloons are very much man-made, and so far as I know, balloons don't care whether they avoid us or not. Oh, here's what this flashed a little quickly, but here it is. The jellyfish description, class 7. Jellyfish-shaped UAP exhibits a seeking motion with its head. I wonder what they mean by that. They mean it's seeking or following or going after something in particular, while its tentacle-like structures trail below or behind the craft. I love how they call it craft there. It is known to interfere with radar systems and other sensors. Hi. 9 Lives Energy says, it's my star family coming to save me. I tell you what, I just will be real, 9 Lives Energy. If the star family looks like the jellyfish, you might want to rethink your plans for going with them. Please give 9 Lives Energy a follow. That's a friend of the show over on their YouTube channel. They have an amazing YouTube channel. UFO Buster says, are they messing with our weather? I wonder what they're doing here. I mean, there's been rumors. Okay, jellyfish. Again, the language they kept using, I'll give them credit. They didn't hold back on the language. They held back on the proof. That's a little disappointing. But they didn't hold back on the language. And I'm just now seeing how they have a color and a size here, 5 to 7 meters. Because I do not use the metric system. Maybe you can help us out here. UFO Busters Australia. 5 to 7 meters to feet. I'm going to see what this translates to. Between 16 and 23 feet. That's pretty big for a balloon too, if it is a balloon. But they also say behind the craft. It is known to interfere with radar systems and other sensors. Now, I feel obliged to bring this up. Let us not forget that quite recently, a massive Chinese spy balloon crossed the continental United States. It was definitely collecting data. Absolutely. It probably had the ability to interfere with radar systems and other sensors. It was shot down off the coast of South Carolina near Myrtle Beach. You still can't basically find out anything about it. Pictures, etc. We must keep that in mind. Certainly there is the possibility of anybody out there recording the skies, collecting data, to encounter some sort of similar spy balloon technology in the skies. Starship says a meter is 3 feet, like a yard. A meter, 3 feet. So yeah, on the big side, it'd be about 20 something feet. There's a pretty good picture, I guess, of the jellyfish. I mean, it kind of looks like a cross between chrome and purple with, yeah, a typical jellyfish head, if you will. I don't remember the biological name of the jellyfish head. I should find out. Jellyfish, the bell. Jellyfish have a bell, tentacles, but then also a ropalia, and a manubrium. Parts of a jellyfish. Nine Lives Energy has some information the government deleted it, just like they did all of our history. Definitely looks to be the case of what's happening with Apollo. Just saying. Here's some more. That looks like a jellyfish. Oh, and here we go. I'm going to let this play on the side.
Direct flight paths. Even yesterday, for the first time, we had 2 in formation. We've never seen that before.
So apparently they caught 2 jellyfish in formation. Here they have the approximate scale comparison. This says 5 to 7 meters for the jellyfish. That's, again, bigger than 4 people. 5 to 7, so that's like, yeah, 20 to 30 feet. Pretty big.
We chased down one of those 2, and it deviated its flight path as we approximated, and then it elevated directly straight up, as in directly vertical.
Wow. Okay. I don't know if I'm excited about what he just said or if I'm annoyed. Maybe both, I think. 1805. Let me play that again.
Down one of those 2, and it deviated its. Seen these take direct flight paths. Even yesterday, for the first time, we had 2 in formation. We've never seen that before. We chased down one of those 2, and it deviated its flight path as we approximated, and then it elevated directly straight up, as in.
They had 2 flying in formation. Formation suggests intelligence. Balloons do not fly in formation, at least not once they escape into the wild, so to speak. They chased one of them down. It deviated its flight path, and at some point it elevated straight up. And I guess presumably it got away.
Directly vertical. So the Class 7 is very hard to.
Annoyingly, he didn't say or confirm it got away, or did they actually end up capturing it? But hey, this, if it is true, changes everything. Whether they're dealing with a foreign adversary, whether they're dealing with a domestic adversary for that matter, or non-human intelligence, if they pursued a jellyfish UFO in a helicopter, and it went into evasive maneuvers, if it deviated its path, and then elevated straight up to escape, if the jellyfish are interfering with our technology, if they actively are trying to avoid us, this changes everything. And that's exciting, but therein also lies the frustration, because this game-changing video and photography that they definitely have. Look at the money that went into this video. Look at the picture that's presently on the screen. I mean, it could be a cloud as far as we know. That's the quality of the picture I'm looking at. I see where they're saying it's a jellyfish, but it could just be a cloud for that matter. Let's see what they're describing. Let's see. Maybe that's for the Skywatcher movie. I don't know, because it kind of sounds like a movie. Let's see the active pursuit of a UAP by the Skywatcher helicopter. Let's see a deviation in course. Let's see evasive maneuvers. Let's see a sudden rise in elevation to escape. I'll go back again to the chat here. Trevor says, thanks again for hosting us. Enjoyed the conversation, Treb. Thank you, Treb, for joining us. I appreciate you. We do have a lot of people tuned in right now. I'm just going to go a little bit longer as I finish my review of Skywatcher Part 2. UFO Buster says, my cat Machina says, meow. Hello, guys. UFO Busters. There is a cat lady in the chat with us right now. 9 Lives Energy. Check out her YouTube channel and subscribe. You won't be disappointed. Starship says, I believe they're filming in the desert west of Lockheed Martin Skunk Works. I think you're totally right. I think they invited people. Rumor on UFO Twitter, UFO X, was that certain people in that community were invited to take part in some of their activity, and it was near Palmdale. They might have made that known publicly. I'm not sure. I'm not going to call out any names, but there were people in UFO Twitter that are well known within the community who posted screenshots of conversations with Skywatcher that seemed to show Skywatcher inviting them to take part in something near Palmdale. Shout out to CJ, the host with the most. It's not with me tonight, but she's from Palmdale. She is the most famous resident of Palmdale, Afro Man being the most famous resident of Palmdale. And of course, there's lots of aerospace in that area. Lots and lots. So it would be nice if they would declare that some bias at some point, and that bias would have to be, hey, we are in a, I understand we might be in a place that's good for sky watching, but we're also in a place that's good for sky watching, not just because it's dark and open and vast, but because we're surrounded by the top aerospace facilities. Not only that, but military facilities as well, and airports. Palmdale Airport was supposedly involved in an incident quite recently that involved drones and involved sheriffs or police helicopters being asked to go in pursuit of these drones. This involved the military base and Palmdale Regional Airport. I believe I'm correct on that name. I have FOIA'd the local police. I'm still waiting. Still waiting. Normally, police departments get back to me within 48 hours and give me all their information. Not this time. I think that's kind of telling in my opinion. UFO Busters gives a meow to 9 Lives Energy. Starship says they showed a TFR map in the first episode. It was Palmdale. Yep. Palmdale. If you haven't listened to the song Palmdale, give it a listen. It's a classic. I think we've got another jellyfish. For some reason, it's hard for me to stop this. Then we got into day 3 here with the fancy UAP orb graphic underneath. They talk a little bit about Class 2, the Tic Tacs. Now, they call the Tic Tacs 40 feet in length, which I thought was noteworthy because this matches with science done by Kevin Knuth and others of the Tic Tac encounters.
And through that method and the optical zoom, we are able to measure, we think they're about 40 feet in length, and they appear to be traveling super. That method.
I want to go back here to the description. So they took it off really fast.
Turns on them to give us distance. And through that method and
Right here, the Tic Tac. Cylindrical shaped UAP that initiates movement from a hover with a vertical oscillation. While hovering, it appears shorter and thicker, but transitions to a longer, thinner shape when in stable flight. Interesting. That definitely sounds like some sort of physics going on there. They say this is around 40 feet in length. One thing that fascinates me about this, a lot of people can write off modern UFO sightings with anomalous explanations, but something you cannot so easily write off are ancient UFO sightings. And there is a UFO encounter in Zechariah in the Old Testament. They describe it as a flying scroll. And that's not just the language they had to put it in, but I've always thought that a flying scroll was another way to describe a Tic Tac. And they describe it as approximately, they use the unit of measurement cubits, but translated to feet, approximately 15 or 16 feet wide and 36 or to 40-ish feet long. I find it fascinating that the size of a Tic Tac in the Old Testament essentially parallels the size of Tic Tacs that we see today, that are military encounters, that Skywatcher encounters.
on the optical zoom, we are able to measure, we think they're about 40 feet in length, and they appear to be traveling supersonic and hypersonic.
They appear to be flying supersonic and hypersonic. They're white in color. Now, I do want to give a cautionary tale here on the supersonic and hypersonic. Let me check back with the chat real quick, though. Starship said, again, it was Palmdale, the size of a bus, RV, or a fighter jet. Oh, almost forgot to mention from UFO Busters, friend, your cool ACDC shirt you had on. Yes, sir. Remember the other night, Paul? Oh, I remember. Best Australian band in history, AC/DC. But here's my cautionary tale for hypersonic and supersonic speeds, is that this could also, again, unfortunately point towards foreign adversary technology. We have been told, for example, that China, for one, for quite a while has been testing long-range hypersonic drones that are being dropped from Chinese spy balloons or the like similar balloons at high altitude. And unfortunately, such a thing would explain a lot about the New Jersey drone encounters. We've also had people come on this show, like our friends from Board Camp Crystal Mine in Arkansas. Google them if you don't know about them. We have been extending an invitation out there. We definitely intend to go out there sometime, but Board Camp Crystal Mine is an amazing place. It's been featured on Expedition Unknown with Josh Gates. They have Bigfoot sightings. They have UFO sightings. They were featured on Expedition Unknown because of one of their UFO encounters, which left physical evidence. It left magnetized material on the ground. It left an impression on the ground. Incredible. Even Expedition Unknown and Josh Gates were blown away. But our friends from there, they came on the show and they also had footage taken from a plane, from a flight they were on, showing what appeared to be a hypersonic missile zipping past the airplane. And they were over the New Mexico, Arizona area, that general vicinity. Pretty terrifying. You know, the real world answers can be much more terrifying than the UFO answers.
A very interesting thing, which you'll see in the videos, is when we do see them, they're at the edge of our sensor.
There is a great shot. I admit this is a great image of a Tic Tac in a video here. It's white. One impressive thing to me is it appears to be almost a perfect Tic Tac shape, like perfect proportions.
Capabilities. You'll see like there's striations around these stills, and sometimes it almost looks like it bends, almost like it's not a solid mass. So when it's spinning, when it comes out of the spin, for a second, it looks like part of it, like probably a third of it is bendable and it bends.
And you know what? We've had people tell us, like Kevin Knuth, that say, hey, they appear to be able to manipulate energy fields around them in some sort of unknown way.
And at this point, is it dropping rapidly?
Yes, the only thing that's changing is the angle that we're looking at it with.
The elevation angle, is that right?
Yes, and we're moving in a downward fashion. The system operator is having a very hard time keeping in frame because it's falling so fast.
Dropping fast.
So you can't zoom in, and our servos don't move that fast, so our equipment can't handle that zoom factor with the speed. You'll see multiple UAPs in these, and as in they're flying together. I don't know that they're in a formation. You know, if you go frame by frame, you can see their cylinders.
Wow.
So that's a class 2.
Fascinating.
We sent the helo out to intercept the Tic Tac.
These Tic Tacs are really fascinating to me. We've put so much research into the Tic Tac encounters that Kevin Knuth investigated. We've had Matthew Roberts on, who's involved in the gimbal and the Go Fast videos. And these encounters are chock full of data, evidence, witness testimony, which again, that's data. Witness testimony is data. Okay. And the Tic Tacs are fascinating. There's so much physics behind it. And here we see, they say apparently they're sending a helicopter in pursuit of a Tic Tac.
But the first attempt failed because our radar was being jammed by the Class 7 jellyfish.
Yes, I remember that. That blew my mind. Okay. They send a helicopter out after a Tic Tac, but the radar's being jammed by a jellyfish. That was a big moment in the chat for a lot of us. The Tic Tac looks legit, says Starship. You're right about that. But jaw-dropping moment here, but it does raise a lot of questions like, how do you know it was being jammed by the jellyfish? Is it clearly they knew a jellyfish was there interacting with them in some sort of way? So they must have had a jellyfish in the vicinity at the same time as a Tic Tac. And they mentioned prior that jellyfish seem to have the ability to interfere with our technology, and that jellyfish want to avoid us, and they're not man-made. This infers that they have a tremendous amount of data. So glory be the day when some of this data gets dumped to the general public. Jelly jam, got it.
Where were we in the sky the first time you saw that? That was when we were 7 kilometers or so out to the northwest, 340 at that spot that we went to.
And we kept trying to climb, and it wouldn't let us.
Our helicopter launched, and about a half mile out, the helicopter stopped moving. Engine's running, blades are turning, but it would not go forward. It would not go up. It would not go left or right. It was stuck there.
So we're kind of, imagine like a blanket above us. It's like pressing us down.
So maybe we were in proximity to it. It was saying, don't come any higher.
Yeah,
because that was when I told you guys elevate, right? That's fascinating.
We were called out to intercept an object that was found on radar. We went to the location it was supposed to be at. We circled a couple times and were requested to climb another 1,000 feet. The instrumentation started to bounce and the collective basically was frozen I've never experienced anything like it before. I've got over 4,000 hours of flight time, and this has never happened before.
So we don't know how they're jamming us. We don't know how they're turning our equipment off yet. Best guess would be a microwave signal. We're not seeing it on the frequencies we're using for our collection equipment.
This is very Skinwalker Ranch. I kind of did get chills when I started talking about this, because this is very, very Skinwalker Ranch. The technological interference from something. I want to remind everyone the real life drama that was involved when Travis Taylor took data that they picked up on Skinwalker Ranch involving signals. He took the data now. You know what? I wonder now. This just occurred to me. The other people at Skinwalker Ranch, they didn't know he took the data. We didn't connect those dots at the time, but I think it's apparent now. Wow. Travis Taylor took the data from Skinwalker Ranch to the Pentagon. Guess what happened? He ended up on the UAP task force. He ended up under non-disclosure agreements. He could not tell the other people, Brandon Fugel, Eric Bard, Thomas Winterton, etc., that he was on the UAP task force. This created a bit of a rift, a real-life rift, when they found out that Travis Taylor was on the task force. Now I realize, wow, I can't believe we didn't connect these dots before. That part of why they were angry in real life had to have been because he took their data and shared it with the Pentagon. Getting to know Brandon Fugel on some level, like we have, since we met him and since we first started watching Skinwalker Ranch, I don't think he was down with sharing their data with the Pentagon. I might be wrong about that, but I don't think that's how they roll. Plus, what really seals the deal for me on this theory is that Brandon Fugel revealed to us when he came on the show with us that, oh yeah, Travis actually wasn't a part of our original Skinwalker Ranch team. We had our crew assembled, like Prince at his mansion getting ready for basketball. He had his crew assembled already. And that was who he was going to roll out the television show with. But the History Channel was like, hold on. We got this guy. He's got a lot of television experience. He's good on camera. Got a cool Southern accent like Dr. Mounts. We want him to be on the show too. They weren't wild about that. And people have speculated, hey, who was behind the scenes? Because we've heard of these types of things before. Who was behind the scenes of the History Channel pushing for Travis Taylor to be involved with the research and the television show at Skinwalker Ranch? So we got signals here being detected at Skinwalker Ranch. We got technology that continues to not function correctly. And now we see maybe the same thing happening with the Skywatchers. Pretty fascinating.
Yeah, this is north, but it's not giving a reading at all. It's off.
Either it's moving supersonic out of here with noiselessly, or it's flipping a switch and now you see me, now you don't. And I kind of feel like it's the second one. So it's really looking interesting that we're seeing multiple classes, 3 classes today, 2, 5, and 7. Saw them all with binoculars and or the naked eye, which is really new for us. We've not had that experience in the last 5 years. And the fact that the class 2 and class 5 seem to be putting themselves between us and the jellyfish. We don't know what that means. We don't have enough data yet to say that conclusively. And I'm not quite sure how many times we have to see something like that.
Let me process that. The class 2, the Tic Tacs, and the class 5, the manta rays, are putting themselves between the Skywatchers and the class 7, the jellyfish. The Tic Tacs and the manta rays are putting themselves between the researchers and the jellyfish. I will say the more they reveal, the less likely that foreign technology sounds, or our technology. But could it be the case? I need to ask some of our military consultants what they think about this. Hopefully they've watched this. Could it be the case of US technology or foreign technology involving multiple different pieces of technology, some that can interfere with signals, some for an unknown purpose, like the Tic Tac and the jellyfish, but that they are working together, each with different functions, but yet, perhaps all attempting to achieve the same goal? Is that possible? I suppose it's possible, but the probability seems to decrease when you put those factors together.
That till we understand that that's probably the case. Also interesting that the Class 5 and Class 2 took 3 or 4 days to show up.
Now we're going to get into the manta ray.
The Class 5 we call the
Class
manta ray.
5.
It looks to be like is written a manta ray. It has round everywhere. I don't think there's anything straight or nearly straight. We actually went frame by frame on this because it's tumbling slowly and derived a 3D model of what we think it looks like. Here you can see it tumbling and spinning on multiple axes as it comes through the frame.
And you said this is going perpendicular to the wind and faster than the wind.
Yes, it was on radar. It was on imagery, multiple bands. And the interesting thing is the radar shows this vibrating as well, the same heartbeat signal, which is really a boost in our analysis because only UAPs appear to have the vertical and horizontal heartbeat.
That's interesting. In this video, there's also an airplane that goes by, in case you didn't notice it. Now, it's hard to tell the reference of the manta ray to the airplane distance-wise, which one is closer to the recording device and which one is further. Are they both the same distance, that sort of thing? That would be very interesting to know, since we do have an airplane going by, possibly a public airplane. But they did make a point to point out that this particular manta ray video, the manta ray is going against the wind, because the way it's tumbling and moving, frankly, your brain can tell you that could be the cause of some sort of object, balloon-like, being pushed around by the wind. But if it's going perpendicular to the wind, obviously we know physics doesn't really behave like that in terms of balloons.
And aircraft, balloons, birds, drones, they don't. They have a flat line trajectory and also a flat line radar signature.
And sure enough, here's 3 distinct images or still frames from videos that they're showing us of the manta rays. And yeah, I mean, it looks like a dead gone manta ray. I don't know what else to say. Looks like a manta ray. Although it does remind me of a Mario character a little bit. I can't remember which Mario character, but I feel like there was a Mario character with this sort of appearance at some point. Maybe it was pink, though, but I'll have to think about that.
Sure. So that's the Class 5.
Excellent.
After every event, it seems as though we leave with more questions than we do answers. Our mission in our investigation is truly just getting started. We're quickly learning, in fact, how many things that we still don't know.
Skywatcher will release full modules for each of the 9 UAP classes on YouTube and our website.
Now, I'm looking forward to that. They use the word modules. I've been saying portfolios, so correction on that. It's modules. They're going to release full modules. I hope they're full. I mean, photos, videos, data. And not just snippets of photos and videos and data, but how about some full-length ones? I want to see some of these chases. I want to see some of the change in directions and speeds. Modules on all 9. Tetra, Tic Tac, Blob, Beam, Manta Ray, Bright Star, Jellyfish, Hornet, Egg. By the way, if you're listening to the show and you have encountered any of these classes of UAP, let us know. Tell us about it. If you are listening or watching this show and you believe that there's something missing, there should be other classes, let us know.
In the coming weeks, please understand that this is a live operation unfolding in real time. We are doing our best to create a taxonomy of these objects based on the data we've collected.
Okay. I'm really fascinated by their use of language tonight. He just said, we're doing our best to create a taxonomy. Folks, here's how taxonomy is defined. Taxonomy, the branch of science concerned with classification, especially of organisms. It's the classification of something, especially organisms, like the taxonomy of fossils. In a nutshell, taxonomy is the science of classifying and naming living things, and sometimes other objects, into groups based on shared characteristics. And there is, of course, the taxonomy of living things here. We've got domain, kingdom. We've learned this in middle school, maybe elementary science class. I'll start over. Domain, kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species. The use of this word taxonomy is purposeful. They do believe these UAP are alive. I think there can be no mistake about it. Or they believe that some of them are alive. Perhaps just the ones with the animal kingdom names: manta ray, jellyfish, hornet, egg, blob, maybe. You say, well, blob, how's that alive? Well, we do have, in our world, we do have the natural world. We do have viruses, bacteria. Look at them under a microscope, and they are very blob-like. Matter of fact, I dare say some microorganisms do have a very UAP-like appearance. Yes, starship. The use of the word taxonomy, as well as their other language here tonight, indicates and implies they think they are all alive. I absolutely agree with that, which is a pretty stunning revelation, to be honest. And I wasn't expecting them to say that.
But we need your help. Part 3 of Skywatcher is going to be about psionics. It's going to be about the team that we've assembled. You're going to hear from some of them directly. You'll hear about their experience, their background, and how they found themselves here alongside us today. And if we can validate the existence of these abilities completely and scientifically, then that information necessitates an entirely new concept of reality and our place in it as human beings.
Part 3 is going to get into the psionics, and I'm not knocking it, but what do y'all think? Do you think that the introduction of psionics in part 3 is going to lose some people? Are people going to tune out once we introduce psionics? They're going to be like, you know what? I'm sorry, but this invalidates everything that came before it. I was on board with UAP, but now you're talking about they're alive. You're going to develop a taxonomy for them. And next episode, you're going to bring in people with psionic abilities. For some reason, in my mind, I had Carrie by Stephen King flash in my head. And I had Firestarter. Remember Firestarter? Another Stephen King movie based on, I think, a short story. I think Firestarter was a short story by Stephen King. UFO Buster says in the chat, I've seen them all and more from Sydney, Australia. It's all up on my channel with No AI ever used. I only ever used color filters on them to make them pop. I do implore everybody to check out UFO Busters, that UFO show, Australia, on their YouTube page. We've had hundreds of people tune in. This was very last minute tonight when I decided, oh yeah, they're going to talk about the new UFO and UAP video and photos tonight. I should go live stream it. I decided that at like, I don't know, 15 minutes before it was time for them to go on. So hundreds of you join me tonight. I am Dr. Mounts. I really appreciate you joining me. We've got some exciting things coming up, including an episode on the Ark of the Covenant. Speaking of psionics, I have a question. Does remote viewing fall under the category of psionics? I feel like it probably should, right? Well, the CIA declassified a document over 2 decades ago. John Greenwald had it back then, but it recently gained new attention where the CIA used a remote viewer to look for the Ark of the Covenant. And we're going to have a military remote viewing expert on with us, some religious experts, and others join us for a show on the Ark of the Covenant. That's going to be coming up April 16th, so here pretty soon. We're also going to be reviewing some JFK file findings. If you don't follow us on our other social media accounts, check us out. We're on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. You can find us, you can find me in Twitter Spaces quite often. Feel free to jump in and say hello. If you ever see me in a Twitter space, please be kind. If you feel so moved and you appreciate our content, to subscribe to this channel on YouTube. That's youtube.com/@allthingsunexplained. You can also check out our YouTube store. You can also support the show by liking this video, commenting, and sharing it if you feel so moved. I want to thank UFO Busters. I want to thank Starship. I want to thank, who else was that tonight that was so active in the chat? Trevor. Thank you, 9 Lives Energy. And to the many others around the world joining us tonight. I am Dr. Mounts. This is All Things Unexplained. Please, as soon as this show's over, it'd be a great time for you to get away from your screens, get off your computers, take a walk outside, maybe head out to the woods, look up to the sky yourself. We don't have to depend on people like Skywatcher to watch the skies. We are our own individual Skywatchers. Look up, check out what you can see for yourself. Because guess what? You may not find a Bigfoot in the woods. You may not spot a Class 7 jellyfish UAP. But you might just discover the greatest thing of all. You might just find yourself out there. Thanks, everybody. I really appreciate you.
All things unexplained.
What's your hot take on Travis Taylor?
I've got an exclusive for you guys if you want it about the Alaska.
We do.
Okay.
Dr. Taylor was revealed to be the chief scientist of the UAP task force with the Pentagon.
So some of that, I think, sir, will save for closed session.